Hello everybody, it's me Suresh, and today we are going to discuss the topic of acid, bases and salts. I'm not going to discuss about the acids and bases today, and we are only going to discuss about the salts. So here below are content points which are we going to discuss today in our video. The first one is what are salts, the solubility of salts, preparation of salts, chemical reactions, description of methods, the excess method, the titration method, and the precipitation method. In the first, we need to learn the definition of the salt. A salt is a substance formed when the hydrogen of an acid is partly or completely replaced by a metal. The definition is very much important, but the examples below which are shown are of how salt are formed and how a metal or an acid is replaced by a metal partially or completely. These examples are not included in the Cambridge curriculum, but we should have a look at it, and it will help us to understand the concept. And first of all, for learning the methods of the preparation of salts, we first need to learn which salts are insoluble and which salts are soluble. Now, first, there are some bullet points, and there is a table of solubility and insolubility of salts, and we are going to discuss it. First of all, there are some key points which we need to learn, and which will also help us learn these salts easily. So first we have nitrates. So let me tell you that all nitrates are soluble, and there is no nitrate which is insoluble. Then we move on towards the sulfates. Most are soluble, like sodium sulfate, potassium sulfate, and ammonium sulfate. A few are insoluble, so we need to learn the insoluble ones. This will automatically help us learn the soluble ones. If we learn the insoluble ones, which are calcium sulfate, barium sulfate, and lead sulfate, all of the rest will be the soluble ones. First, we need to know that for all types of salts, the ammonium salt and I should say the group 1 elements are always soluble in salts. They are not anywhere in the insoluble list. And then we move on towards the carbonates. Soluble carbonates are, so here we have 3 soluble carbonates as well as the group 1 compounds, and the rest of the salts will be insoluble. So the soluble ones are ammonium carbonate, potassium carbonate, and sodium carbonate, while the rest are insoluble except the group 1 compounds, group 1 salts. Then we move on towards the chlorides, fluorides, and iodides. They all are same, and this name of the salts goes for 3 of them are same. And the salts which are soluble are sodium, calcium, and aluminum. The same, most are soluble. So all the group 1 absolutely, and all the others which are in other than insoluble. So the insoluble ones are Ag, lead, and mercury. Ag is silver. So the insoluble ones, all the salts which are chlorides except these insoluble ones which are silver, lead, and mercury are soluble, and same goes with fluorides and iodides. Then we move on towards the preparations of salts, and there are basically 4 methods: by reacting metals with acids, by reacting metal oxides with acids, by reacting metal hydroxides with acids, and by reacting metal carbonates with acids. Then we move on towards the preparations of salts, and basically we have 3 methods: excess method, titration method, and the precipitation method. The precipitation method goes for the insoluble ones, and the titration and excess method goes for the soluble ones. So first we need to learn the table which I have provided over here, and first we need to learn this table. You can pause the video and take a screenshot of it, and later on learn it there. This will help us to memorize or to recognize the method of preparation of a specific salt. So first, this is just an example. So methods of salt preparation is insoluble salts by excess method. No, it is the wrong one. It is by the which we should say ionic precipitation method. I have written it here by mistake. Insoluble salts by ionic precipitation method. So here are some examples. Soluble salts by titration. So in order to differentiate between the soluble salts which should be obtained with the titration method and the excess method, we have listed down the salts which are made by titration method, that are sodium, potassium, lithium and ammonium only. They are the only ones who are made by this method, and all the rest of the salts are made by the excess method. So let's have a brief look at the precipitation method. It is done by reacting two soluble salts or a soluble salt and an acid. So in this we can take two soluble salts or a salt and an acid. Soluble salt and an acid. The thing which is compulsory is a soluble salt. And step 1 we should take is take a titration flask and add a measured amount of one solution to it, either a soluble salt or an acid. Add the other aqueous solution to it, then add the acid or soluble salt, whatever you have taken, and after the reaction is complete, filter out the precipitates. Precipitates are the granules or the substances obtained or observed in the after the chemical reaction, and you have to filter them out. They will be left in the filter paper as the residue, and the other will be collected as the filtrate. So wash the residue with distilled water in order to remove all the filtrate and get the maximum from it, and then dry the crystals between the layers of filter paper. This will also this will crystallize the other soluble salt, and we will obtain both of them separately in the dry condition. So this was just an example of barium chloride plus sodium plus Na2SO4, which makes BaSO4, barium sulfate, and 2NaCl, which is sodium chloride. Then we move on towards the titration method. It is done by reacting soluble bases with soluble acids to form soluble products. Step 1 is to take a titration flask and add a measured amount of alkali to it. Then add a few drops of soluble indicator to it. By adding the indicator we get the color like thing, and which help us to distinguish the salt, and add the acid from the burette into the alkali until the endpoint is reached. So first we need to know that what is the endpoint. Endpoint is the point where the color of the solution which we got previously by using the indicator changes. When the color of the solution changes from the color of the indicator to any other color, we come to know that the endpoint is reached. Then repeat the procedure without indicator and add a predetermined volume of acid. So in order to obtain the pure salt, we need to repeat this method, and first we noted down the readings, all the readings. We added the how much alkali we added and how much acid we added. We have to note down that on a page, and then add predetermined volumes without the indicator. This will help us to obtain the pure salt. Then pour the solution into a china dish and heat it to form a saturated solution. Then the saturated solution will be formed, and leave the saturated solution to crystallize. Then filter the crystals and dry it in the folds of filter paper, the same as the previous one. We will dry them, and we will obtain the best from it, maximum salt, or the soluble salt I should say, from the method, titration method. This is the just an example. Then these are some equations. Pause the video and take the screenshot for more understanding. And then we have the excess method. In this, take a titration flask and add a measured amount of acid to it. We add the acid and then add excess amount of insoluble metal carbonate, or insoluble base. So in this we also react acid with base. So in this we add acid. In it we can add metal carbonate, insoluble metal carbonate, or insoluble base. After the reaction is complete, we have to filter off the excess metal or base. Then we need to pour the filter in a china dish and heat it to form a saturated solution. Leave the saturated solution to crystallize. Crystals will form on cooling, and then filter out the crystals and dry it in the folds of filter paper. And if you want to gain big crystals, heat the saturated solution at a low temperature, and